If you're choosing to be a disruptor, then you have to be ready for number one, criticism, attack, and condemnation. You have to be willing to come as a student and not as a teacher. You can't lead if you can't listen. Number three, not everybody is going to love you. Number four, be willing to figure it out when you get into the new space. The other thing is, when you jump the fence, you have to understand the expectations. And the last one, you will need somebody to serve as a mentor. So let's go on ahead and dive into this conversation. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, karibu sana. Welcome to Make an Impression. This is just a safe space where we are choosing to be authentically bold in how we live our lives, whether that is matters, faith, lifestyle, or personal development. So if those are topics that interest you, please do consider hitting the subscribe button and joining this growing family. So today we are talking about becoming a disruptor. If you are among those few who are willing to become disruptors, who are willing to get out of the norm, who are willing to do things differently, then this is the video for you. Not just because we are going to have a conversation around the things you have to be ready for, but because we are also reviewing a book. So we are reviewing Disruptive Thinking, a book written by T.D Jakes. For those of you who don't, I'm sure almost all of us know who T.D Jakes is. But what I can bet you guys didn't know is what the letter D stands for his name. It actually stands for the name Dexter. Imagine, he's called Dexter. I am sure a lot of you guys didn't know that. Yeah, but T.D Jakes is he's a bishop. I'm sure you guys know him. He's a well-known author. He's written a lot of books. He's written he's written Disruptive Thinking. He's written, so many books, guys. You can just Google and find out. But today we are going to be talking about disruptive thinking because we are talking to the disruptors. If you want to be a disruptor like me, then this video is for all of us. So, as we started, I mentioned to you guys the things that you have to be willing to go through when you are walking in this journey of disruption. And I want to go on with you guys to chapter 7 of this book. I don't know if it is clear. Chapter 7 of this book, and it says major obstacles on the way to disruption. So the way to disruption is definitely not an easy one. I think we have had so many conversations here on Make an Impression around that, but now we are just going to go through what T.D Jakes is telling us, that there's things we will need to be ready to face. There's things we will need to be ready to struggle with. There's things we will need to be ready to fight if we want to become disruptors, if we want to go to the other side. And I want to start by just reading through how he's given the explanation of the word ego, because ego is the reason a lot of us get stuck. Ego is the reason we don't choose to be disruptors. Ego is the reason we just choose to be stuck to where we are. And this is what his book says. When we leap over the fence, we are going to be making a big ask of our egos. We are going to need to be okay with being small again. We have maximized all that we could in the space we're in. We've learned and performed and found some success. We have a place there. Maybe we have become a big dog in a small kennel, the start off of the off-Broadway show. Now we believe we are ready to hit Broadway. We are a bit scared, but we are poised to take the leap. However, there are a few things we need to consider as we are about to land on that fresh new grass. And these are the things that we're going to be discussing today. I've just put sections where I have underlined in the book that I'm just going to be running through as we discuss, because I don't want to make this video long. I just want you to know that as you lock in your 90 days, or as you decide to take this disruptive journey, there's things you need to be willing and ready to go through, because you will definitely face them. So the first thing he says is that we need to come as a student and not as a teacher. That means we must pull back from our previous state and do some observation and introspection. Don't be marching in there giving orders before you even know how the coffee machine works. And I think I like that because Most times when we choose to be disruptive and when we choose to get into a new environment, we are very quick to want to go in there and disrupt. But I think what this book is telling us, or this book is reminding us, that we will need to sit back, we will need to read the room, we will need to understand what is happening, we will need to come in as a student and not as a teacher, so that you can absorb as much as you can in this new environment, and that when you start taking action, you're not just taking action from a point of your ego pushing you to do what you're supposed to do, but you're actually learning from those who have been in that environment for that amount of time, and that you can be able to pick a lot from that. So it says that journey won't be easy. And that's why many of us choose to stay back and live in the old familiar space rather than to risk the leap. You don't want to be small again, so you don't believe your ego is up to the task. So sometimes we feed our ego so much that at some point we're like, I don't want to go back and start again. I already started, I've worked so hard to get here, and now that I want to take this leap, it's telling me that I will have to go back and start again. A lot of us don't want to do that. So what do? We decide to stick to where we are. So the first thing that T.D. Jakes attacks in his book is ego. You'll need to work on your ego. You will need to understand that you have to walk into these disruptive spaces as a student, so that you can learn and become a teacher. I also like what he said. I think I wrote it down because I won't remember where I read it. You can't lead if you can't listen. So if you are an unwilling listener as a leader, if you are an unwilling listener, if you are an unwilling learner, you don't want to learn from other people, you don't want to learn from the new space that you're in, then likely you cannot lead. And if you lead, you're going to lead in chaos. That's just my lessons. That's just my learning lessons, guys. So the second one, as you leap, disruptors, or as they leap, let me just read it as it is in the book. As they leap, disruptors also must be prepared for criticism, attack, and condemnation, especially in a society where we often seem to be more interested in counseling than in understanding. Criticism isn't a crisis. Let's get this right. Sometimes criticism can be constructive. If it's not, it is destructive. We must have the discipline and focus to ignore it. So how he explains it is that criticism can be good, but at the same time, criticism can be bad. And we focus so much on the bad criticism that the 2-3 people who actually criticize what we're doing, we spend so much energy trying to prove them wrong, trying to explain to them why we are doing things the way we are doing them. And then we waste so much time on that, while we have all these 1,000 other people who actually agree to what you're doing and they support it. So we take criticism with such heavy hearts, and that's where ego again comes in, because anybody who's out there to attack my ego, hello, I'm going to try and fight that. Automatically, I will want to condemn that criticism. I will want to attack it. I will want to address it. But as you become a disruptor, you will have to learn to not respond to every dog that barks at you. Let me even use those common words that we know. Because if you stop to bark at every, to throw stones at every dog that barks at you, you will never reach your destination. So learning and understanding to pave through that process of taking constructive criticism, constructive feedback, and actually applying it positively, and being able to distinguish between what is constructive and what is not, and not paying attention to what it is not. It is not easy. And so I think it had to be put in this book that for you, in order to become a disruptor, you have got to be comfortable with criticism, because it will come. People will criticize your work. People will criticize what you're doing. People will criticize what you're saying. So if you have not, if you don't develop the muscle to be able to take positive criticism and apply it where you need to, and take negative criticism and know where to place that and not, give that attention, then you might suffer in this process of just being a disruptor. The third one, which I really, really like, and which I think personally I'm struggling with, is that I don't care what you do, not everybody is going to love you. No matter what you say on social media, somebody is going to dispute it. You either argue back with everybody or you move on. Even in the rare instance where you succeed in the argument, What's the reward? A glimmer of satisfaction that lasts a couple of minutes at the most. It's simply not worth the trouble. Another important consideration is the question of energy. The energy in the next room is not the same as the energy in the room we left. We have to figure out the new pace. So I think I've spoken about two things there. Number one, not everybody is going to love you while you're doing what you do, and you have to be okay with that, and you have to be able to move on. Yes, a lot of people will not probably agree with what you're doing, or they will not love what you're doing. They will have their reasons. So you have to be comfortable with that not everybody is going to love what you're doing, and that is fine, even if it's your closest people, your family, your friends, I don't know, the people you really regard. And if they don't love what you're doing, or maybe they don't understand what you're doing, and you can't keep carrying them with you in this vision, then you have to be okay to love them from a distance. Love them, but be okay to move forward, because you alone are the vision carrier, and you know why you're choosing to be a disruptor. So the other one that I've talked about is the energy in the next room is not the same as the energy in the room you left. So as you are becoming a disruptor, you have to be very wise, and that's why I keep asking you guys, let's ask God to give us wisdom, because he gives it freely. Like his word says, I give it freely to all. Anybody who lacks wisdom, let him ask from God, who gives freely. So you need to have that wisdom to be able to walk into a room. Guys, read the room. Please take a minute. Take a second, take that 1 minute, read the room you're in, so that you're able to pick what is different from the room you have come from to this new room that you're choosing to disrupt, to understand how you're going to squeeze yourself to fit in there. Yani, how will you play? I don't want to say play this game, because it's not really a game, but how will you fit into this new room that you're walking into? How will you become a disruptor without disrupting in the wrong way? I think that's also food for thought for all of us, because you have to. So let me read for you guys what T.D Jakes says in his books. One of the hardest lessons I've learned about hiring people is to try to discern not whether the person is able to do the job, but whether they are able to keep up with the pace in my organizations. We move at an extremely demanding pace, and that pace can be altered because we hired you. We need people who have the energy to keep up and the flexibility to adapt to the rhythm of the room. So you might have the right qualifications, you might have the right experience, but are you flexible enough to adapt to the rhythm of the room? That's a very important thing for all of us disruptors. We have to ask for wisdom so that we can be able to read the rooms that we walk into and understand our place in that room, so that as we learn and as we grow, as we become this student, tukichongwa huku kando, we are able to, we become, it's called malleable. You're such a malleable person. You're flexible. So you're able to fit into that space. I like that. I think we are on almost the last ones. I told you guys I don't want to make this video long, because I just want us to understand the things that we will probably experience as we choose to become disruptors and as we choose to get into these new spaces. The other one is let me see. Okay, this is a bit of a longer one. I think I would rather want to skip that for now. But the other one I can finish with is, in addition, you also need, when you jump the fence, you also will need somebody to serve as a mentor, which is different from having somebody whose behavior you are modeling, which is important as well, guys. Mentors are much more actively involved with you, cajoling, advising, cautioning, teaching you the topography of the landscape. In addition, you also need a sponsor, somebody who will bring you into the room. Back in the old days, we used to call these letters of introduction, a stamp of approval from someone whose opinion matters. I like how he explained that because he gave the example of John the Baptist in the book of John chapter 1 verse 29. John the Baptist brought Jesus into the room. John had the ultimate platform while Jesus was in the back of the room. Behold the Lamb of God which taketh away the sin of the world. So John the Baptist, of course, introduced Jesus into the room. He sponsored Jesus by pointing him out and directing attention to him. We may be great, but very often, if we don't have somebody who sponsors us and authenticates the validity of what we have to contribute, then we are stuck in the air and won't land on the other side of the fence the way we should. That's a prime reason why we need to always work as if someone is watching us, because we never know who actually is watching us. I find it interesting that when you get to know someone who might be a person of influence and affluence, they are always interviewing you just a little bit. In the back of their mind is the question that most of us at some point are thinking, whether it be in an interview or on a date. What do I get when I get you? That's you're in a stinky doggo, guys, I'm sure. But I think that's just what T.D Jakes is advising, that as much as you have somebody whose behavior you're modeling, of course, these are people that you look up to in the different industries that you're in, but you will need to have a mentor. A mentor is somebody who questions, cajoles what you're doing, advises, cautions, teaches you the topography of the landscape. Because remember, you have jumped into this new space, and it's a new space. You don't know how to navigate it. You're learning how to navigate it. You're learning all these new things. So if you are able to get yourself a mentor who can guide you, who can show you the path, who can give you direction, who can give you a lot of insights into these different topographies that we operate in, then you're in a much better place than somebody who's just trying to figure out the way by themselves. I really, really like that. And also the idea of a sponsor, and how they have explained the sponsor is somebody who will bring you into the room, people who have already been in these spaces, people who can push your work, people who see what you're doing and they can actually advocate for you. So I think that's also a good one. And I think I would like to close that for now, and also just give you guys how T.D Jakes gives an explanation of how discomfort is a part of becoming disruptive. He says, as I said before, discomfort is going to come with the territory when you're being disruptive. You shouldn't even consider jumping over that fence without knowing we will experience it, because we are not likely to avoid it. But we can't let the idea of being uncomfortable scare us into running in the other direction. First of all discomfort is likely to be temporary. We need to remember that. We shouldn't make permanent decisions because of a temporary discomfort. Give it some time. The discomfort of growth will eventually become your norm. It will be institutionalized as part of your everyday world. And soon enough, it will be time to leap again, because you will have come upon a new fence. That I really, really like. I think we can close there. Soon enough, it will be time to leap again, because you will have come upon a new fence. So as we are choosing to be disruptive, as we are choosing to get into these new spaces, as we are choosing to challenge our norm sorry guys, as we are choosing to challenge our norm, I think I really like how T.D Jakes puts it, that we have to remember that even in this discomfort, it is going to be temporary. It is just a space that is stretching us beyond what we are used to. But if we are comfortable enough to jump the fence and expect that criticism will be a part of it, disappointment will be a part of it, learning will be a part of it, soaring will be a part of it, all these things that we have discussed will be a part of this disruption, then already we know what to expect. And I really like that. And I think the reason why I picked this book is because I needed to understand, for the people who have chosen to be disruptive thinkers, what are the things that they have had to deal with? What are the things that they have had to, to go through so that they can become disruptors, so that will prepare me even as I continue to lock into my 90 days. I am learning the different things that I need to implement, the different things that when I see, I shouldn't be surprised because they will happen at some point. I am learning even to understand how to handle this discomfort, guys. It's not easy how to handle all these things when they happen. It's such a difficult and brain draining experience. It requires you to consistently just be on edge. I don't know, like I really feel like mentally I have really pushed myself this year. In fact, I even wanted to say, I don't know, guys, maybe this might be the last video for the year, because I need a break to kind of like just refocus and rethink and really just reestablish all the things that I have learned, because I have really pushed myself this year. And this book has been a part of my journey. It has really helped me to get here, because now I understand that a lot of the things that I am dealing with, I'm not the first one who's dealing with them, and I will not be the last one. So as long as I am choosing the path of disruptive thinking, as long as I am choosing the path of authenticity, of being authentically bold, of doing things that I would not have just done out of the bat, without really sitting down and choosing to really focus and do it right, I would not be where I am. So please grab yourself a copy. It's a really nice book. If you are thinking of disrupting the space you are in, kama unajaribu kutingisha kidogo, just do something different, I really hope that you find what you need in this book. Well, that's it for today's conversation, guys. Thank you so much for being in this space. If it's your first time here, karibu sana. Welcome to Make an Impression. I like to call this a safe space where we are choosing to be authentically bold in how we live our lives, whether that is matters faith, lifestyle, or personal development. So if those are topics that interest you, please do consider hitting the subscribe button and joining this growing family. And I look forward to seeing you bossing up and becoming a disruptive thinker. Goodbye, and see you in my next video. Bye.